What's up, guys? Today I am going to be replacing my table saw blade with this brand new Freud thin kerf rip blade. I've seen these used all over the place. I've seen them on the internet, and it seems like this is going to be what I want to use on my saw. It's a thin kerf blade, so it's like 3/32 wide, as opposed to like a normal blade is typically like 1/8 of an inch. So it's a little bit thinner, save on some materials that way. And it's 24 teeth, and it's got these relief cuts and stuff in it, so I think this is going to be a good addition to my shop. I wanted to bring you guys along while I change out this blade, because I'm sure some of you guys, actually I don't know if some of you guys care about this, but I figured I'd make a video out of it anyway. I'm using this AccuRemote angle gauge. I first saw this being used by Frank Howarth on his page, on a lot of his videos. I'll make sure I link his YouTube channel in the description of this video, but this is really handy. It's got magnets on 3 of the sides here, so what you do is you set it on your table and zero it out so it's at 0 degrees, and then you can hook it right up onto your blade, and magnets right up to your blade, and you can tilt the blade and make sure you get it right at the angle that you want. It's pretty accurate. It seems to work really well, so this is gonna be helping me install my blade. I want to have it right at, perpendicular to the table. I have it tilted for a project that I just got done working on for the horse racing game. If you guys saw that video, I have my blade tilted at 45 degrees. I want to get it back up to perpendicular. So I figured, hey, I'm sure some of you guys want to see me change out my table saw blade. If you don't, then just don't watch the video. If you do, stay tuned. So let's go ahead and do this. Alright, so I raised my blade up and I put it back to 90 degrees, or at least close to 90 degrees, so that I can get this throat plate off. When I first got the saw, this throat plate didn't have a hole in it, and it was like tricky to try to get that throat plate off without being able to stick my finger in there and pull it up. So drilled a hole in there. I advise doing that if you don't have a hole in your throat plate. Do it off somewhere where it's not going to get in the way of any of your cuts or anything, but that just makes life a lot easier. Now we need to get this blade off. On some saws you can, we're going to be loosening this nut here on the arbor. On some saws you can obviously easily get access to that, and then on the other side of the blade there's a little slot where you can stick a wrench in there, a real thin wrench, and kind of do the balancing act between the 2 wrenches. On my saw you can't do that. There's nothing on the right, from my perspective, the right side of the blade to grab onto with any kind of wrench. So what you're supposed to do, what you got to do is grab a block of wood here and wedge it in that blade right there. And I'm using a 7/8 inch wrench, and I'm just gonna hold the block there so the blade can't spin when I try to yank on this nut, and it should come nice and loose. And you want to raise the blade when you do this. It just gives you a little bit easier access to that nut and the arbor and everything. And I can spin this nut off. Then there's like a big washer, or like some kind of a flange that holds the blade on there a little bit more solidly. Get that off. And I can wiggle the blade off. And there you go. It's an old blade. I think it's 24 teeth per inch, or 24 teeth per blade, and it's kind of gummed up with, lots of use. It still works. It's still in decent shape. I'm gonna save it. I'm not gonna throw it away or anything. But I felt like it was time for an upgrade. So this is my new blade. It's the thin kerf rip, 24 teeth. It's got a flat top on the actual cutting heads, which means if I were to do little dados or anything, it would leave a nice smooth bottom of the dado or rabbit or whatever. So I'm gonna put this in here, making sure that the actual cutting heads are facing the correct direction. Slide that on. Make sure it's fully seated up there. Get this flange, washer, whatever you want to call it. Guys, I don't know what the hell I'm talking about, so I don't have the right terminology per se, because I'm just an amateur trying to have some fun in the shop. Don't really know what the hell I'm talking about. Alright, so now that the washer and the nut are on there, I got everything ready to go. I just need to tighten this nut up. So now I'm going to be holding this block against the blade so it's not going to spin, and I'm tightening the nut going this way. I got a crappy piece of pine here that's probably not the best wood to do this with because this blade is just denting this pine. But that seems real nice and tight. Should be good to go. I'm going to put my zero clearance throat plate back on. I made this out of some plywood. Just made it the correct size for the actual opening here. Drilled a hole in it to make it a little bit easier. Put a pin in the back that hooks up onto the underside of the table there. So zero clearance. When I made it, I just had the blade all the way down and put the zero clearance throw plate on there. Moved my rip fence on top of this, not in line with the blade obviously, and then I turned the saw on and then just raised the blade so that it would cut a nice clean opening for the blade. Okay, so now I want to zero out or get this blade perpendicular with the table, so I'm going to use my little angle gauge here and set that on the table, turn it on, make sure it's at 0, and then hook it up to the blade, making sure that it's not touching the teeth. The teeth kind of come out from the main body of the blade. I want to get this reading perpendicular between the table and the body of the blade, so I don't want this magnet to be anywhere near those teeth so that I get an accurate reading. And right now it says it's at 1 degree, so I'm gonna tilt the blade just a little bit. So I get it right to 0. They say that this angle gauge is accurate within 0.2 degrees, which is definitely good enough for me. And I'm going to tighten it down, and I got it there leveled off at 0. So I think we should be good. Perpendicular to the table. Alright, so this video probably wouldn't be complete without me doing a test run of this blade. So that's what I'm going to do. I got some plywood, some oak, and some walnut. So I'm going to run these through this bad boy and see how she cuts. I'd say she works real well.